But you're just going to have to waffle for a minute because Peter got to jump over.
Hi, you waited, you're here. I'm sorry I'm late. It's all these outfit changes. I just couldn't decide what to wear. Those people who've hung in your hair, Mr. C, will you tell me when we've gathered everybody? I'm so sorry for being late there. Internet nightmare. Right. My name's Jane Considine. I'm a teacher through and through, and I'm primary trained, and I'm here to talk about teaching and learning, but very specifically, we're here talking about English, but we're talking about the teaching of writing. Now, this is a series of 10 sessions, and we are on number 7, perhaps dealing with the trickiest of all topics, how to build a non-fiction unit of work. You know, this is tough stuff, and it really is quite challenging, much more challenging actually than building a story unit. But we're going to explore in a lot of detail tonight why it is so tricky, and practically roll your sleeve up stuff of how we can make it easier for ourselves in planning units and down the line helping kids. Now, I'm loving seeing your pictures, my little pyjama posse, my quarantine queens, my COVID kings, and I'm so glad you're here. And why are we here? Because we were a little bit, directionless. And then we found each other, and then we found something to do, because actually we need something that just keeps our brain ticking over, but we don't want it to tip us over the edge. And this is what these sessions are about. They're just about, good enough for a bit of, something to think about, something to cogitate on, but nothing too stressful. So I hope they have a relaxed feel, and just that knowing that there are other like-minded teachers out there at the same time watching. Some of us have better outfits, better sheds, better notes, and thank you for the Neapolitan notes. I have noticed there's a bit of competition happening out there with notes, but I really do appreciate all the effort, all the love, heartburst, all the support. This is the most gorgeous teacher squad family, little professional family here that we've created. Now, Ian, my husband, is managing the chat. It's a good job you didn't drop in here 3 minutes ago when we couldn't get the internet working, because there was some interesting high-attaining language being swapped between us, but we're back into professional mode. Some things I just want to say to you. Well, thank you, Ian. I want to say to you for my new bit of blue tack. That saved our marriage. That's lovely. And prizes. I want to give a prize, the right stuff, to, actually, Mr. B, you can have which book you want, really. If you've got one, you can have the other, but we'll chat. He's brought his Oreo Easter eggs, and apparently he's sharing. So for that reason alone, Mr. B, you can have a book, and a really big love and thank you, mainly because they're just so gorgeous photos of me from Bitterswell Primary. You posted a photo of me training you guys in one of my favourite dresses, and for that reason alone, a bit of kind of fashion watch. You've got a Hooked on Books winging its way to you. So get in touch with your details, and we'll send those off to you. Okay. Non-fiction. You do have to have a bit of a deep breath on this one. It is a bit tricky, and you're going to probably have to think more tonight than you've ever had to think before, and there's a few bits and bobs we have to sort out right at the outset. Okay, so brace yourselves, please. I've been talking a lot and using the analogy of building, working up to building something quite complicated, like a Star Wars Millennium Falcon or a starfighter, or some sort of elaborate kind of final Lego piece. And for me, that is how complicated, and for kids more importantly, how complicated it is for them when they're trying to write independently. And what we've got to do when we teach writing is break it back into bite-sized chunks. And for story, those bite-sized chunks are plot points. And when we're working in a plot point will make a lesson, an actual concrete writing lesson. And then we lean on the structure of the writing rainbow for us to drive our sentence teaching. So just a summary of where we are with story. When we're working with story and we've got a map on the go, we're pushing a central character through their plot points and we're thinking about the highs and lows for that character. I hope you can feel from me, because I haven't shut up about it, that it doesn't really matter what the story is, whether we're doing Little Red Riding Hood, Jack and the Beanstalk, Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe, or A Monster Calls. We are taking a central character through their plot points and considering the highs and lows for them. And we build around those positive and negative moments, the intent of writing. So over a unit, we are slipping between these two modes. We're either doing experience lessons to enrich things, generate vocabulary, guarantee the experiences they've lived through, or we are working on writing. We have a lesson hooked around a plot point, and all of our work is to the craft and construction of sentences. That's story. In a way, that's the easier beast. More tricky is non-fiction. And when we work with non-fiction, we need to think about 3 modes of teaching. And the third mode, 2 of the modes are exactly the same, but this third mode is called find a shape. It's almost like, because there is a universal map that we're using for story, you know, we know exactly what we're doing. But when we are working with non-fiction, if you're doing holiday brochure, if you're doing biography, if you're doing a diary, if you're doing a persuasive letter, if you're doing a balanced argument, whatever you are doing, whatever non-fiction text type you are building, all of these will have a different shape. And so what we've got to do at the beginning of units working with non-fiction, we've got to make very explicit with kids, well, what shape are we working in? And that's what I'm going to explain now. So it will go something like this. I'm going to show you now a map, almost like a week 1, week 2, of how I want you to think about non-fiction. So I know this is a bit small and I will add more meat and detail to this, but let me just talk you through it broadly and then I'll explain it. And through explaining it, I'm hoping you'll have a clearer understanding of what I'm getting at. So I want you to notice here, before we even start non-fiction teaching, we have got to hijack 2 of our, doesn't actually, you know what, it doesn't actually have to be 2. It could be 1 if they're a bit older, but we have this early part of non-fiction teaching where we are using the reading of a model to draw out the shape. Now, this really isn't the kids discovering this shape. We are going to direct them very closely, and we are going to now move and show them how words can turn into almost chunks of Lego that mean things. and I'm going to explain exactly what I mean. Right, just for an example, let's say this non-fiction unit I'm working with now with my kids, I want them to write, ultimately, independently, a postcard. So let's rewind that right back here. So that's down here. I want them to write their own postcard of their own volition with all of their own ideas. So working that back right at the beginning of this unit, I am going to start with sharing a damn good model. If I can't find a damn good model of a postcard, you know the drill as teachers, don't you? We know what we have to do. We have to write one. Okay. So I am now going to show you, and I don't mean, let me pin that up there. I don't mean like the layout of a postcard, but I can show them that as well. You know, like there'd be a stamp over there and there's an address over there. You can do that as well. But I mean the main body of the text of the postcard. Now, what I'm going to do now is the sort of thing I would do with the kids. I'm going to read it in words and they can experience it as kind of a collection of sentences written in a postcard style. And then the next thing I'm going to do is draw it back out as a shape. So here is the main body of the text, first of all. Hi Mum, the best bit so far about our holiday to Birmingham was visiting the new Bullring shopping centre. It has changed so much and all the buildings are modern and Selfridges was show-stopping. On arrival yesterday, we settled into our bed and breakfast and went for a drink at the Spotty Dog pub in Digbeth. Insert fun fact there. When Ian and I got married at Newman College, because we were at the teacher training Catholic college in Birmingham, we got married there, and then our reception, which is probably overinflating it, was at the Spotted Dog in Digbeth. Cue reference. Yes, it was a shithole, wasn't it, Ian? with sticky carpets, and everyone had to buy their own drink. It wasn't very flamboyant. It was brilliant. It was Boston.
You didn't have to go very far to get any drugs, from what people have told me.
Yeah, it was a really brilliant evening. Anyway, went for a drink at the Spotted Dog in Digbeth. Tomorrow we're getting up early to travel to Dudley to visit the Black Country Living Museum. We've heard they sell fish and chips cooked in lard. Birmingham has more canals than Venice, and we're enjoying discovering new places on these routes. How's the cat? Can't wait to see you Friday. Love and hugs, Jane. So that is the kids, that is you meeting the postcard in words. That's the sort of thing, the model on a Monday. However, that's not the only thing you do on Monday. Once you've established, you know, the read of the model, yeah, what's that, Mr. C?
I just say Mrs. S went to Newman.
Oh, did she? There's a lot of Newmanites out there, but I always thought like West Hill looked a bit more glamorous, you know. They had a few more facilities, but there you go. So essentially, this postcard now, we're going to draw it back as a Lego shape. This is what I mean. And this is where I can't impress on you enough. You, as the teacher, have to do this. You have to take control of what the shapes are and you have to assign meaning to them. And once you can do that, your writing will absolutely fly. So that is the postcard in words. I'm just going to put that up there a little bit, just slightly out the way. It's just there, but it's still there. And now I'm going to show you what I mean by drawing it out as a shape. So we've talked all week, haven't we, about this sense of children understanding, oh, wrong way around there, Mrs. C, the positive and the negative intent of writing. And when we work with non-fiction, we are pushing a reader through these shapes that mean things. And I'm now going to help the kids understand the shape of a postcard. So first of all, the first shape they are going to meet is this one, which is the informal greeting. That is literally, that's me drawn a wavy hand, because it could be, hi mum, hello Jack, you're right Joseph. Informal greeting. The next thing, so that's that, you know, it's short and sweet, it's the hi mum. I'm just going to put little footsteps, I'll talk about those in a minute. The next thing we talk about in the postcard, and it's in the writing, is the best bit about our holiday to Birmingham. The best bit. We then tell the reader what we did yesterday. Oh, look, I'm running out. So let me hang that lower. Oh, life. There we go. Let's just put that there. You can remember what it said, can't you? The gist, anyway. So that's what we did yesterday. That's that shape. The next arrow is what we're going to do tomorrow in Birmingham. We're going to the Living Museum in Dudley. Then there is this sense where we, I call that fly the fact flag, because we get this fact that Birmingham has more canals than Venice. So that's the next one. There's a little footprint there, little footprint there. And question to the reader, how's the cat? There you go. And then here, I close it off. Can you see that closed door? You've got to make them into something that you can teach and explain. So to me, if I say I want you to close the postcard off with a closing sentence, then to me, to explain that and for the kids to remember it, I've got a closed door there. So my closing sentence is, can't wait to see you Friday. And then finally, my finishing off, love and hugs, Jane. Now, that is the shape of a postcard coming across here, and broadly, because a postcard is quite jolly and you never tell people the bad bits, but it's like, hi mum, so like +2, the best bit +8. Oh yeah, we might say, oh, we like the building, but you can say there's bits you didn't like, but you're looking forward to something tomorrow, a fact. But broadly, your postcard would be quite positive intent. Once kids understand that with a postcard model to Birmingham, one of the things then you could do on Tuesday is, Monday is very directed. We read it, we sort it, we talk about it. On Tuesday, we can cut up the same postcard, put it in an envelope, but it's now cut up into sentences, or as near as damn it, like hi mums on a strip, love and hugs Jane's on a little strip, and the shapes. And they, on Tuesday, get another chance to pair up, oh, what was the closing sentence? Where's the chunk with what we did yesterday? And that means if we go back to this map here of how we're working with it, this means that by Tuesday, there is no doubt all the kids in the classroom know the shape of a postcard. What that means then, we can have an experience of a real school trip, for example, or an imaginary school trip. We're going to Hull, it won the City of Culture. Right, we'll go there. That was probably a few years ago. I was born in Hull. And then we'll go to a trip, and then we are going to collectively write our postcard, and I'm going to hold your hand. And unlike story, where you go, a plot point makes a lesson, when it comes to non-fiction, you've got to use your common sense as a teacher. Well, hi mum, the best bit was, I could probably teach that in one lesson. What I did yesterday, what I'm doing tomorrow, those two shapes would make up another lesson. A fact about the area and ask the reader a question. So I can see, I can teach that probably, if I lace it with a couple of experiences, I could teach that in about 4 days, if not less. I am going to go through that process again because I don't want to lose anybody, because I'm going to now apply it to another text type, because the key to this working is you taking control of breaking back every little bit of your model into meaning shapes. Now, in the Right Stuff book, I outline set shapes. But in many ways, that is too rigid. For us to be even more accurate and purposeful in our non-fiction teaching, we've got to have very accurate shapes that match the models that we've chosen. Let me give you another example, so we're all on the same page. I don't want to lose anybody at this stage, because this is you as a teacher starting with one damn good model and using it to break back shapes that have meaning that you can then teach to. So let's now have a look at another text so you can sort of get what I mean with another worked example. Okay, so this is quite short, but you can get me drift. This is a biography about Emily Pankhurst. So this is what it says. Emmeline Pankhurst, 1858 to 1928. A strong suffragette that shook society with her single-handed civil rights sisterhood. Why are you fantastic? Emily Pankhurst fought to inspire women from all walks of life about their equal rights, including the right to vote. She was appalled by gender inequality, and her deeds, not words, approach won people over. Why did they paint their bikes? Protest colours were well known as purple, white and green. How many suffragettes went to prison? 998. Why did she chain herself to railings? To get noticed. Her memorable qualities were that she was passionate about fairness, determined to bring societal change, and was a fearless activist. In 1903 in England, she founded the WSPU, and at this time when universities were starting, army services formed and war was rumbling on the horizon, many women stayed at home while she protested in the streets. Okay, now that is the text in words. What we would then do with the kids is show them how that has been built with meaning-made shapes. So it would be this sort of thing. Right, Emmeline Pankhurst, you go down there for a moment. And these are the key shapes that make up that text. So we have early on, which way does this go? This way, her name. And you can see in the top there, I've done a little scribble of cradle to grave. So you have as your main heading, her name, when she was born, when she died. The next thing you'll notice, if you look clearly, a strong suffragette that shook society with her single-handed civil rights sisterhood. So we get this overview statement. So we've got this overview arrow, and then I've got this ear symbol because it's drenched in alliteration. Then it asks the question in the text, why are you fantastic? And that is when we have to do a summary of why she's fantastic and a wonderful woman who changed history. The next thing is the text zooms into her 3 qualities, that she was passionate about fairness. And you can see here I've got, this would be even better if I could have some purple paper, because ideally we want this in purple, like a quality street, like a suite, because what are her 3 qualities? And the key to creating these shapes, while I'm on this moment of 3 qualities, is these need to be generic enough so that when they've read Emmeline Pankhurst, together we can write one for Gertrude Elderide, the first woman to swim the English Channel, and down the line they can choose their own famous woman who made history, like Amelia Earhart or somebody else, and they can still follow the same structure. And that actually every component part of this jigsaw is required. So it moves on to talk about time and place, the context, what was happening in the world when she was, you know, protesting and, you know, creating, what's the word I'm looking for? Ructions. And then here, this is the symbol scattered about in that biography is question and answer. And there are 3 of those. But this then becomes a jigsaw meaning-making formula for kids then to follow. And so we can talk about, you know, a biography again is broadly positive. But here, in context, we can begin to highlight some of the challenges that she faced. And actually, one of the questions in there is kind of negative as well. We get this sense of it wasn't all fun and games. You know, genuinely, a lot of women went to prison. So we could have, like, we have 1 sad face question and answer and 2 positive questions and answers. So we can even sort of sort that out a little bit further. We'll have 2 positive and 1 negative. So if we go back to, let's say, a biography sequence for non-fiction, it kind of follows the same mode. I'm going to use Monday. You know, if you've got older kids, you could probably do it in 1 lesson. But I'm going to use Monday to read a biography. They're going to read a biography. We're going to draw out the shapes. We're going to be really sure what the shapes are. On Tuesday, I'm going to cut that biography up and I'm going to, same biography, I'm going to put it in an envelope and they can match it and sort it and be really sure they can, after it's been deconstructed, they can reconstruct it again. And they're really sure what the overview arrow means with alliteration. And they can begin to kind of sort it out and be really sure about what the shape pathway is that they're following. And then once we've got that, I can hold their writing hand quite tightly and I'm going to model, let's say, Gertrude Elderide. I'm going to say, right, her name, when was she born, when did she die? The overview arrow with alliteration. The next day I'm going to teach you kind of how to construct 3 to 4 really strong sentences summarising her life. Then we're going to move into her personal qualities that she showed. Then we're going to perhaps have an experience day when we're going to look at film clips and we're going to get more knowledge because we need some context about the period of time to write time and place sentences later. And then we're going to finish with our kind of positive and negative questions and answers. And we can have Emily Pankhurst as our reading model. you can, with me, they could write Gertrude Elderide, and then they can choose, when we get to independent, their own person that they want to write about. Okay, Mr. C.
Yes.
Are there any questions?
Yes,
I've got some more things to say, but let's just stop there for a minute. Anything you want to ask me?
Well, there's a lot. I'm just, I've sort of like a lot of people going on about Newman, obviously.
Are you overwhelmed?
No, I am a little bit.
Are you?
Yeah, it's okay.
Are you just flirting with people in the chat who also went to Newman, who knew you as well?
They don't know me. Nobody knows me. They're all sort of like on at different times. Right.
Right. Go for it.
Yeah, there's a really, so now I'm asking this because I know you'll know the answer. I know you told me to try and answer as many.
No, ask me.
In
Yeah.
chat.
Go for it.
It says, would you always create your own shapes prior to lesson, or would you co-create these with your class so they held a shared meaning?
I love that.
I've kind of answered it, but if you elaborate on that for a bit.
Basically, I think how you have to start is that you as a teacher have to know, right? You as a teacher have to know what the shapes are. They'll have to experience that at least once from you. But the reason why, let's say, that has turned into a quality street shape with the number 3 in it is because I've gone in and said to the kids, oh, I know what'd be really good is if we can then say, put a crown on them and say, what are their 3 qualities? 1, 2, 3. And a kid has genuinely said to me, well, miss, that's all right, but wouldn't it be better if it was quality street? And I've gone, yeah, like so much better. And I think that is the point when it's up for negotiation. We don't want to leave too much for them trying to work it out for themselves. But I think once you've set them in stone, then actually kids will go, wouldn't it be better if it was this? Or miss, we think we should split that into 2 shapes. And you're like, actually, it'd be better then, it'd be clearer. So I think you've got to go in with a sense of what the shapes are, and then they are much more creative than we are. I never forget when I was in this class, I saw a shape on a wall. This is a really forward-thinking school, and I was in the school for a different reason, and I just turned to this kid in the class and I said, what is that shape? And the kid looked at the teacher, and the teacher looked at me, and I said, it's a bum, isn't it? And they were like, yeah, it's a bum. And I'm like, well, it's okay, because it must mean something. And they went, well, yes, miss, it does mean something. I said, what does it mean? Miss, it's it was for persuasion. It was an advert. It was an alliterative, snappy slogan. And it was so rude. It was so naughty. But every kid knew exactly what they had to do in that little persuasive advert when they saw the bum symbol. Now, I'm not promoting that it becomes as rude as that. But you're absolutely right. The more you can co-create with them, but I don't want it to be like, well, we left the kids to do it and it all became a bit sloppy and confused. I think we've got to have a clear sense of the Lego shapes and what they mean, and then things come up for negotiation, either negotiated into 2 different shapes or a different shape altogether. Yes, Mr. C.
I've got 2 more questions I wanted to cover before you move on.
Do it.
Dead quickly though, because you're talking a lot about bums.
I didn't mean to talk about bums.
Okay, this is from Glebe. It says, could you share, and this was a couple of people asked the same question last night. When you're talking about the experience days, and I know that you just give an experience example of an experience day as being a film.
Yeah.
But could you give any other examples of that? I think the context I've tried to answer last night was that it's not a writing activity. It's, you know, whether that's coming in and there's been a flood and you've made your classroom a flood, or whether you're taking them down to any water to talk about.
Basically, the quick answer to the question of what makes a good experience, the first thing I'm going to say is in the unit plans where you've got example units to download for free. We've written loads of different experience days, and experience days are supposed to be times of experience days in non-fiction are going to be knowledge finding. We can't be experts on Emily Pankhurst without knowing anything about her. So sometimes experience days don't have to be that amazing. They have to be like what I would call research based. We have to go and watch YouTube and go around. We have to go and find out about Emily Pankhurst. We have to watch this film. We have to go and read a few books. We have to gather some facts. We need knowledge. You know, to have a good, strong non-fiction curriculum, we need knowledge, and knowledge is part of our duty of care, and experiences are part of that. And they can be really quite funky, as you can, I could go enroll as Emily Pankhurst and I could say, collect my facts, collect my feelings, sort them. Or they can be, right, we'll watch a documentary that's appropriate, and everything in between. I think the key to experiences in story need to graft back to the central character's perspective. So when you do a drama, when you do something funky, when you're in non-fiction, they're about knowledge gathering. And that can be all sorts of forms. Any other questions, Mr. Seeger? Because I've got a few more things.
About 3 or 4 questions on a similar line. But basically, what people are sort of because you're talking about these shapes now, perhaps make it clearer that those shapes don't replace the fantastic.
I haven't finished that. No.
No, but it's been.
Okay, stop there then. Stop there. Right, okay. These are the equivalent of plot points, but now they are shapes of meaning on how we are going to construct this non-fiction. Now we've got shapes in place. The sort of thing now I'm going to be saying is, right, well, here on this overview, I want you to include alliteration. I've lost my wiper. Now we are here doing this overarching summary. I want you to make sure that you capture it all in one paragraph. Here, when you look at her qualities, how I want you to build it is using repetition of the sentence structure. Here, when you talk about time and place, I want context leading me in with adverbial phrases. And here at the end, question and answer, I'm going to be looking out for your punctuation, and I want a couple of positive ones and I want one negative one. So we are still working with the 3 zones of writing. And within these shapes, there will be sentences. That is really crucial. One of the other things I'm going to say, which is really important about step sentences in non-fiction, is we need to start showing kids how we build them. And what I'm noticing online, which is gorgeous, is we are beginning to take ambitious language, and we're going to sort it into language like a 9-page thesaurus. So, for example, we've got lots of language that is descriptive, that is really useful for story writing. So this sort of thing like luxurious. I'm just doing a little sidestep to make my point here. Beguiling, what things look like. Thunderous, what things sound like. Some of these words you can use positively, some of them you can use negatively, some of them is both. Sprawled, salty, what things taste like. Okay, so that sort of thing, and we're beginning to build up this kind of 9-page thesaurus idea. Dilapidated, that comes negative, loaded, what things look like. Now, the other thing that we need to be aware of is when we hit words that we think actually, I don't know what idea of writing we're working there in. I'm not really sure, because they might be words like, you know, first, ultimately, reveals. There are many words where they're tricky to place on a 9-page thesaurus. And these words are, they are more versatile, they're very productive, and they're hard to pin down. But these sort of words, like fundamental, or establishes, or words like ultimately or considerable, that are less obviously story words, these are the critical words that help us write step sentences. So when we're building our 9-page thesaurus and we're thinking, I'm not really sure where that word goes, they are going to be the most amazing, versatile words that help us write the links and joins in between our big ideas. So what I want us to start doing to kind of stretch that 9-page thesaurus is collect those, but then collect these more versatile words, because these will be the bedrock of step sentences. And these are the things then we can begin to show kids, well, actually, once we've drawn out shapes, we can now make the links and joins between these shapes. I'm going to teach you what damn good step sentences are in non-fiction. So we need to start collecting these more versatile words that actually illuminate thinking. Okay, so the sort of thing that will be common in non-fiction, if we're, you know, we need step sentences that summarise. So this sort of thing, you know, the sort of thing you'd find in a newspaper or a journal. We have words like summarise, to conclude, ultimately, on the whole, in general. So overall, 10,000 jobs will be lost in this sector. It's showing kids words like overall, to conclude. So these are the powerhouse words of step that will make damn good step sentences in non-fiction. Words like this, consequently, which will be a really powerful word for us when we are, oh my, blue tack. Still got blue tack crisis, even though I've had new blue tack. So words here that help us write almost like the results of things. They are perfect for things like explanation. So therefore, so, as a result, shows, reveals. So here, consequently, this leaves a residue on the surface. So kids start seeing how these powerhouse words can build really good sentences. And if we collect lots of these words, the words that we can't file on a thesaurus, these are the versatile, productive words that help us write really good cohesion. Right, that is a man who is clearly showing off. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what, he's just trying to show you in some sort of way that I bully him. I asked for 1 packet of blue tack. See, he does that. Oh, go on then. Apples.
So,
yeah.
because you're referring to the 9-page thesaurus.
Yeah.
And then these step sentences.
Yeah.
Somebody's asked, can a step sentence be part of a shape sentence, and where would it fit into the 9-page thesaurus? Should there be a 10th page, basically?
Basically, the quick answer to your question, when we are collecting words and we're going, right, so that word is angry, that's going on the feeling page. It's definitely negative, fling. Vibration. Yeah, let's put that on the sound page. that could go either way, but we like that word. Dilapidated, put that on what things look like. Breathtaking, that's positive, put it on what things look like. But then we have these other words, and the best way to describe them is they are high order, they're bloody brilliant, but they're not fitting anywhere. And the words that don't seem to fit anywhere, these are, they feel less story. Of course, they're less describing words for story, and they are these beautiful, versatile words. So yes, the answer to your question is we need 10 pages on that thesaurus where we collect these sort of words that have high leverage, high productivity, and these words make us amazing at non-fiction writing, and they make us amazing at talking about books. Now, we've got a resource called Book Talk Bonus Words, and I don't know why we charge £5 for this. We charge £5 for it for each year group. So it runs from foundation stage all the way up to year 6. And what I've done there is, I've actually designed this to support reading, and I will be talking about this down the line when I talk about reading training. But these beautiful, versatile words are the powerhouse of language for kids to illuminate their thinking about what they're reading. These are all the words they need to demonstrate comprehension. But let me tell you, they are also the words they need to write amazing non-fictions. So we want these versatile words where we think we don't really know where they go, but they help us write cohesive step sentences. Yes, Mr. C.
They're only £3.75 with the 25%.
They're only £3.75. Do you know what is the point? I've got 4 kids. One of them is Oscar. I mean, 4 kids to feed. £3.75. I mean, please.
With the sale on.
With the sale on, we know. Right, okay. So, tomorrow we are going to explore in a lot of detail a story lesson and a non-fiction lesson. But let's just really recap here, okay? This is so important. If I am going to get kids to write a newspaper, I don't start with a newspaper that is harder than I want them to write. I don't start with a newspaper that is easier than I want them to write. I show them what is known as a Goldilocks newspaper, a just right newspaper for their age. Like, I would be delighted if my year 4s wrote a newspaper like that. Once I've got that newspaper and they can read it in words and we share it together in words, we are going to draw from it a shape. I'm going to show you now one of my favourite shapes I've ever seen on a year 4 classroom wall. I knew it was a shape, a Lego shape, and I turned to a kid and I said, "Tell me what that means." And this is what was on their wall, and they talked me through it. They went, "Miss, that shape means an eye-catching headline." All the time, Miss, you're thinking, do I need a step sentence? You don't always, Miss, but you were always thinking, was there one in this model? Oh, we didn't have one there because that was just an eye-catching headline. Miss, then after that, after the headline, you have an overarching heading. Okay, brilliant, to introduce the story. Okay, then you have the jelly effect. I'm like, okay, what's the jelly effect? Well, you make your reader tremble with excitement if it's a positive story, or you make them tremble with fear if it's a negative story. Then you show one side of the story pushing this way, backed up with quotes. Then you show another side of the story pushing the other way, backed up with quotes. Then you include a picture and a caption. Imagine this is all on one line for me, please. And these are the footprints here. At every point you're considering, is there some step sentences that we need to link this together? Then we talk about the impact of this story on the local community. Then we talk about the impact of this story on the wider world. And then we finish with the mouth. And I'm like, what is the mouth? And they're like, the mouth is you shove the newspaper's opinion down the reader's throat. But having that drawn out from a reading model meant that the teacher could literally go, right, lesson 1, I'm teaching you the headline and the overarching introduction to the story. Then we're going to do a really meaty paragraph and we're going to make you tremble with a fear or excitement about this story. Then we're going to show you one side pushing one way, backed up with quotes. So it's almost like lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4. I don't need a lesson to do that. I can fit that in here. Lesson 5, lesson 6. That means after I've drawn out the shapes, we can build our own newspaper across 6 lessons, and I've held your writing hand to do that. And now in independent writing, when I send you off to do that, and we're going to talk about that in detail on a session with 7, 8, 9. When I talk about independent writing, you will send them off to write their newspaper, but they now have a spine of shapes that's going to prop them up. We as a teacher have to control those shapes. Now we've got a resource that you can download called Non-Fiction Shapes. It's electronic, where you can build your own. But even in the building of your own, you've got to start with, actually, I need shapes that tell the story of the text that I'm bringing to bear in this classroom. Just to make the point, because I don't want to lose between shape and sentence teaching, I'm just going to hit this home a little bit, and this is going to be my final thing I talk about. I knew this was going to be quite a heavy session.
We did start late then.
And we did start late, and that is naughty of me. I'm so sorry. But here, if I was on the shape of a holiday brochure, and this was the first shape of holiday brochure, and I am now in my teaching holiday brochure, and this shape is the invite, the tantalising invite. We're trying to entice people on holiday. In my reading model, and I'm sorry these are so long, but it's just to show you exactly what I mean. My reading model would have something like this, and it's definitely positive. Venice, which is steeped in culture, is one of the most beautiful parts of Italy. That's me teaching kids to do an embedded clause, a relative clause, and they can see that entices them in, and we've got that. What that would mean when we're trying to write for Mauritius would be this. You can see how we can then follow that structure but have different content. Mauritius, which is a hidden gem, is located in the southern Indian Ocean. But also on this invite strain, so I can showcase within this shape, look, there are 3 things I want you to do. 3 sentence types that will unlock this invite shape. So, also within this invite shape, I want you to do something which I am calling part of the basics on grammar. Insert the longest bit of sentence paper here. Oh, trust me, I never test out if it can go and if I've got enough blue tack. So here, drenched in superlatives. So this now is, oh, that's related to Mauritius, you twat. Twat being me, of course. Oh, you twat. That's, if you say it in a really business-like way, it's okay. So here now we've got Italy. So you can see here Italy drenched in all these superlatives. It is the most charming of Italy's cities with the dreamiest, most romantic atmosphere. And then here for Mauritius, we can have 3 superlatives. It is has the most beautiful coastlines, the most hypnotic coral reef filled lagoons and the prettiest sunsets. And in our reading model, to invite us and entice us for Italy, we have this sentence where we start with bossy imperative verbs. Ride on a gondola, taste truly traditional pizza and kiss on the piazza. And then for Mauritius, we can have just as much bossy verbs, you know, compelling us to go there. Scuba dive in the sea, walk on the white sands and taste fresh seafood. So what I'm trying to show you there is your model would have certain, so within the invite shape, the model will do an embedded clause, superlatives in a sentence and imperative verbs. I mean, that's become quite heavy with grammar, but the next sentences could be like, let's drench it in all the sights and sounds. Then let's do a simile. Then let's do a metaphor. So that what they start to see, it's that triangulation. That's the reading model. That's Mrs. Model to me. I've read Italy and found the shapes. Mrs. now teaching me Mauritius, and we're following the shape. We're doing the invite shape that unlocks these 3 sentences. And down the line, we are going to go to an imaginary place, but we are going to do the invite shape, and then it doesn't really matter what the other shapes are, but you get my drift. Heavy stuff, but I will tell you this straight. We have nearly been amazing with non-fiction for donkey's years, but if you just rely on a bank of textual features, it will be like quicksand. We've got kids who can put in 4 textual features and go, I've finished, miss. They can put those 4 textual features in across 4 sentences. We need a structural backbone and we have to create it from the models that we want to use. And once you've got shapes that are propping up your non-fiction writing, say, give me an invite shape, give me the starburst, give me the, you know, doesn't matter what they are, you know, give me the zoom in, give me the zoom out. Then kids can write those to those shapes and they can then build it like Lego. So yeah, we have come back to Millennium Falcons, but we have got to help them build it. Plot points get replaced with shapes, jigsaw shapes that have meaning, and it's how they then interconnect, is how they are then able to build the whole of writing. They can't be too abstracted, these shapes. They actually have to be concrete and every component part is required. Thank you for tonight. I know it's been a tough one, but when we explore lessons tomorrow, I think it's lessons tomorrow.
It's independent writing.
Oh, it's independent writing, yeah. When we look at, well, it's all going to build and link. So when we talk about, thank that word, damn it. Right.
Can we do some public service announcements?
Yeah, public, if you do them nice and loud so everyone can hear you, Mr. C. I'll try.
So
nice and loud.
All stock is now back in stock.
Yep.
We've been hassling the printers today. They've printed everything. It's going to be arriving tomorrow morning. So they're back in stock on the website.
Yep.
And because we ran out of so much stuff, we've extended the 25% off sale.
Cool. I like it.
That's running until Sunday night. So that our return to school, I know we're not returning to school, but our return to school, so we've got the whole of the rest of this holiday now to get on. So that's number one. The only thing I would say is, we are on a really skeletal staff.
Yep.
So it's probably going to take a little bit longer to reach people.
Yep.
We are trying to get the books out straight away, because obviously people can read the books now. The classroom resources aren't essential for...
Yep.
We
can get Oscar to do it, surely. Surely Oscar.
Can do it. Yeah, if he's got a controller, if he's got a PS4 controller, yeah, he'll do it. Or a rugby ball, he'll be fine doing it. I don't think it's either of them. And the other thing is, completely left my brain now, but do you want to quickly go over what's going to go on Wednesday,
tomorrow,
Thursday and Friday night, the last 3 sessions?
Yeah, I will. The last 3 sessions, and I never know quite the order of these.
Well,
tomorrow,
independent writing and editing.
Yeah, tomorrow we're going to finish off. We have established that when we hold their writing hand and we teach them, and then we're going to do, well, how do we get them to do independent writing? And I'm going to talk about the editing process. And independent writing is the hardest thing we have to do. And then really those 2 things could have come in any order. But on Thursday, we're going to talk about an actual lesson. How to graft for a damn good story writing lesson and a damn good non-fiction lesson. What the kids' books look like, how we tie it all together. And then on Friday, we're going to soar off and consider how we really help the kids who can be great depth writers.
Before you go, there's been a couple of people ask over the last few nights about inset opportunities.
Yes.
I know we're not in school at the minute.
Yeah.
Could you explain what services you offer?
Yeah.
To schools?
Yeah. If you want me in person in your school to train you, that is all good. I go all over the country. I go all over the world. If you want to get hold of me, the first thing you have to do is email info@thetrainingspace.co.uk, and I do training on writing, training on reading, training on non-fiction, and training on foundation stage.
It's a full day.
It's a full day of training, and that is there's a menu of 4 as it stands. Okay, everybody, we're going to call it a night. Thank you for being here. Sorry I was late, and I'll see you tomorrow. And it's really important that if you've been here tonight, you don't miss tomorrow, because we've got to take it from actually building it onto independent writing. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye. Mr. C, click me off.